Happy Family Day, or President's Day? It's President's Day. I realized when I said I was confident that I had an opener, but I didn't actually know the holiday, the statutory holiday that everyone has.
Happy Canadian and American holidays, which are on the same day, but actually different holidays.
Happy holiday meant to align our economies and populations and prevent seasonal affective disorder that comes from having to go back to real life after the holiday season in December. And happy approaching trade deadline. Happy.
Nothing's happy these days.
Brad's had a rough week.
Yeah.
Brad's had all of his wisdom teeth removed, and he got the flu in each of the holes where his teeth were.
One of them got a dry socket.
Yeah, and then the dry socket got the flu, I think it was, and then
in a roundabout way, yes.
And then he's been teaching Mika. He's been potty training Mika. Mika, when I walked in the door, was grabbing her, just running around in a diaper.
She was in her underwear.
In her underwear.
This was how she found her newfound realization.
Which is she, and not wearing diapers anymore, grabbed her butt and apparently looked at Brad and went, "I have squishy butt."
Yeah.
And has been running around telling everyone about her squishy butt.
Yeah. Well, because she's probably never really felt her diaper before, because she wasn't one of those kids who would shove her hand down the back of her diaper, thankfully. So I was thinking about it. When has she ever actually grabbed her butt? She might not have ever done this in her life before we started potty training her. And then she realized, wow, this is squishy. And it's been the funniest thing I've seen in the last 2 weeks.
Let me tell you, fatherhood is much easier when it's my friends doing it, and I just come around to see her do funny stuff, and then I leave. And you know, surprisingly, you guys haven't even asked me to babysit yet, and so I haven't had to do any of the hard stuff. This is fantastic.
We got very close to asking you tonight because all our normal babysitters for our hockey game tonight were no-goes.
Oh, I would have done it.
Yeah, one of them came through, so you got saved.
Oh, man. Oh, man.
Potty training is, it's the most boring yet difficult thing ever. Because in reality, you don't have to do anything other than put her on the potty every 30 minutes. But the thing is, your whole day's consumed because you have to put her on it every 30 minutes. And find a way to keep her occupied on there for 15 to 20 minutes at a time.
What a life.
It's, like I said, you're essentially doing nothing, but you can't do anything.
For those of you who ever sometimes need a reminder to call your parents, reminder that your parents did this for you.
Yeah.
And probably taught you how to use a spoon and do other stuff as well. Yeah. Call your parents. Welcome to the Winged Wheel Podcast. I'm Ryan Hanna.
I'm tired.
And our usual tired actually isn't here today. It was a holiday and he's got things to do. On today's surprisingly a lot has happened. So we're going to lay out a little bit of a schedule moving forward. This Thursday is going to be our midweek episode, our trade deadline primer episode. So we are hopefully going to have enough trade deadline rumor chat, substance to talk about. We're going to have Max Bultman of The Athletic Detroit on. We're obviously Max is a friend of the podcast. We're excited to have him on again, and we figured the trade deadline primer is the best time. So that'll be our midweek episode, and then you're actually not going to hear from us on Sunday again. This week was because of the holiday. Next week is because we want to make sure we have an episode out for you right after the trade deadline happens. So our Sunday episode will be happening on a Monday night, so 7 days from when we're recording today.
I literally scheduled myself to leave work 3 hours early that day, so I'll be home by like 4.
Yeah, so we're going to, that'll be our trade deadline breakdown, decompression, explosion, depending on what happens. We've had a few episodes now, like the one after Mrazek wasn't protected and some other stuff where it was just like perfectly timed. So if you're a Red Wings fan, hope that's not what happens, but if you're just a fan of quality entertainment, maybe hope for some fireworks, because we're geared up to embrace them.
I've had my angry episode for the month, Ryan. I don't feel like doing another one.
Yeah, I'm gonna be drinking tea with honey and just preserving my voice all weekend just in case. And then Wednesday that week will be our midweek episode. Oh, but the 24th, sorry, the Sunday we're still going to be doing something is going to be our live stream. So the Sunday is going to be our live stream. The Monday night, the live stream is Patreon exclusive. The Monday night is going to be our regular episode. It's going to be the post-trade deadline episode. And then the Wednesday is going to be February's Patreon exclusive episode. Last one was a blast. I'm excited to do it again. We should probably remind Evan. On this week's, this episode of the Wing Go podcast, we're going to be talking about Detroit. More of the whole Cholosky Hronik stuff, I guess. Not much different, so we're not going to dive too far into it.
Yeah, not too much of it. I'm sick of it.
Trade talk. A little bit that's there.
Actually, an update on our Red Wings, so that's something.
We're going to talk about a bunch of jerks. Don Cherry has officially designated a bunch of jerks.
And it's not us.
And it's not us. Or him. And it's not Ron, because Ron's a friend of the podcast. And we're just going to be talking about the league in general. Some other stuff has happened. And then we're going to hear Brad probably try to rush out the door, as I'm going to keep him here as long as I can. The Red Wings. Well, you know what? The Red Wings actually had a really entertaining home-and-home against the Flyers.
My God, that game on Saturday, I'm really upset that I missed most of it because of reasons. So involving me not being able to be in a certain room of my house. Anyways,
Saturday, the Flyers, for the first half of the game, looked like the same team that was essentially one of the hottest teams in the NHL. They controlled every facet of the play. If Detroit got the puck for even half a second, it was to clear it out of their own zone just to give the puck back to the Flyers. The Flyers very quickly went out to 5-1. Not very, like it happened in spurts, and it all happened very fast. I was tweeting out things like, this is such a typical, like, blah, 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 Detroit loss. Like, it was a foregone conclusion that Detroit was going to lose.
I was keeping up with, I saw probably 20 minutes of that game, and then I was keeping up the rest of it on Twitter. I'm not going to lie. After the whole Cholosky thing and sending him to Grand Rapids and Detroit in a rebuilding season, sending out 6 veteran defensemen, I was kind of happy to see them give up a 5 spot before the end of the second period. That was a little satisfying. Can't lie.
So they before the game, or like basically just before the game, Hronik got called up, but not in time to actually play. So he was on a healthy scratch. So yeah, they went up 5-1, or they went down 5-1 to the Flyers, and then the Flyers gave up a 5-1 lead, culminating with 7. I was watching it, and the bunch of jerks in me was like, watch Detroit tie this up with under 10 seconds left just to steal a point and then lose probably in overtime. Like, that would kind of suck. But at the same time, I was like, I would love for Detroit to come back and spoil a 5-1 lead. That's hilarious, especially considering the game was getting chippy. Partly because Mantha gave Drew a pretty dirty cheap shot to the back of the head as he was on his knees against the boards.
Very, very dirty shot, but not a cross-check for those who were saying it was a cross-check. That was all glove. I don't know what people were looking at.
No, you have enough to complain about the shot itself. There's no need.
Oh yeah, there's no need to make it any worse than it was.
Yeah, like it was bad.
Yeah.
When Simmons went after Mantha within the first minute of the next game, I was like, yeah, I wish Mantha didn't have to fight, but you can't. You got to answer the bell after that one.
Although this is the Anthony Mantha that I am here for, the new Johan Franzen.
Oh, absolutely.
The big, highly skilled instigator with accuracy issues. He is literally Johan Franzen. And do not underestimate the fact that when Johan Franzen first got to Detroit, before Hasek came back, Franzen wore number 39. And then switched to 93 when Hasek came out. So, I'm not, to be fair, have we ever seen them in the same room at the same time?
Oh, I have. They were at a signing together.
Okay.
I haven't actually.
Or were they twins and they were just moving back and forth really fast?
Really fast, just like vibrating. Yeah. So obviously Detroit tied it up on a beautiful tip from Mantha.
Yeah.
A lot of that was,
two beautiful tips for Mantha.
Yes. The second tip, a lot of it was just like you try to redirect it in the general direction of the net. Like for sure he wasn't thinking, I'm going to tip this top corner.
Hell no, he knew exactly what he was doing there. That's a set play.
No, it's a set play to tip.
Yeah, it's very, very hard to hit the part of the net that he was hitting. It's a low percentage play, but that is 100% what he was trying to do.
Well, yeah, the tip was very much intentional, and it was fantastic. And then in due order, Philly won in overtime on a wraparound, which I wish Bernie would have been able to stop. But I digress.
That's one of those games you're pro tank, but you're like, damn it, finish it off, just win it.
Right? At that point, if you're going to come back from a 5-1 deficit, win the damn game. I don't care if you're lose for Hughes or win for whoever.
Lose the next 4 games, win that one.
Yeah. Well, and then it all balanced out because I think Detroit actually had a better effort on Sunday against
Philly.
Definitely. And Philly came away with the regulation win.
Yeah.
So since our last podcast, we were actually recording as the Ottawa game was happening, but Detroit came out ahead in a huge tanking game that had a lot of. There was essentially a 4-point swing. So Detroit came out ahead in that one, but then only secured one of the next 4 points against Philly. So all in all, they're still near the bottom of the standings. Counting games in hand, they could drop as low as 30th right now. Ottawa's still in the basement. You know what I was thinking about today? When is the league just going to switch to the 3-point system?
I've been on that bandwagon
Like
for
there's
years and
there's
years.
just no.
I've given up on it. It's never going to happen. Because it makes too much sense.
It just makes too much sense. Also, Detroit would be in last right now.
Yes.
Anyhow, Detroit moving forward actually has Chicago on Wednesday, so that's the only game between now and the next time we'll talk. So, always a fun game against Chicago. More tank implications. But in Detroit news, Chris Johnston came out and said that Detroit has officially asked Nyquist for a list of teams that he would be comfortable being traded to.
And there was another piece of news that came out that Detroit had not had any serious contract talks with Howard, Jensen, or Nyquist yet, despite Ken Holland's stated interest in possibly bringing some, if not all of them, back. To which my immediate thought when that Nyquist news broke and the contract news broke is, we're a week out of the trade deadline. This is stuff that you should have done a month ago at a minimum. What?
I don't care that he hasn't talked contract because I think this lends well into our best case scenario before, which is that he's saying that not to the Red Wings fans or the Red Wings. He's saying to the other teams to say, I'll sign these guys if you don't pay up.
Yeah, I'm hoping. I really, really am hoping that's what it is. If not, if we come and go through the trade deadline without these guys traded and without contract extensions, that's awful.
Oh yeah, that would be bad.
That's real bad. That's the one scenario you can't have.
The funny thing about Nyquist is asking him for a list of teams is actually not formal procedure because Nyquist has a full no trade clause.
Yes.
So what they're doing is they're being an honorable team. First of all, they're trying to give respect to the player, but also they're trying to get ahead of the curve because they're asking for permission before forgiveness or instead of forgiveness. Most teams set up a trade and then ask the player.
Like they did with Green last year, and we know how that went.
Yeah, and so Detroit recognizes that Nyquist holds all the chips, holds all the cards, and is instead saying, hey, we all know the reality of the situation. We've known for a while it might come to this. We're not taking a contract off the board, but just in case the right deal comes up, who are teams that you'd be interested in? This list can be 30 teams long. This list can be 25 teams long. This list can be 4 teams long. This list can be 0 teams long. There's no... Nyquist could even say he could leave them on red and not text them back. You know, there's no official standard here because he officially has a full no trade clause. He could put the Nashville Predators on this list and say, I am only willing to be traded to the Predators. And
now, if you're Ken Holland, you don't tell Nashville that.
No. And as long as Nyquist hasn't signed anything in writing, I'm pretty sure, I'm not going to dive too deep into the legalese. But if he just says verbally, like, yeah, Nashville's the only place, and then Holland sets up a deal with Nashville, Nyquist could still say, no.
Never mind.
He has a full no trade. Yep. It's completely up to him. Granted, it's unlikely that that'll happen. Nyquist, in interviews and reports leading up to the season and during the season, seems to be aware of the situation.
And he hasn't said anything that would sway your opinion really hard one way or the other as to what he would like to do.
No. He's not... Howard, for example, is pretty firmly in, like, he gets it, he gets the business, but he would really prefer to not be traded. I think Nyquist gets it.
Yeah, at least with Jensen and Howard, there's no trade protections there, so if they go, they go.
I keep seeing Howard lumped in with Nyquist in terms of asking price, because right now it's Holland has said he's definitely going to pull the trigger if someone offers it first, like that's the price. And if it's not at first, then he'll have to consider it and negotiate because he really thinks that's the price. I think that's the right take with Nyquist. I don't understand trying to get a first for Howard when there's Bobrovsky on the market.
It's funny, out of the air quotations big 3 trade pieces the Red Wings have being Nyquist, Howard, and Jensen. If Howard's the only one not traded, to me that's probably the best scenario anyway. I think he probably gets the lowest trade return of the 3, and he's probably the one guy I would advocate the most for bringing back.
I agree on half of that. I think he would garner the lowest. I think he has the lowest value on the trade market, and that's not a knock on him. That's just
There's no teams looking for a goalie right now.
No. But I'm scared about that extension. I really am scared about that extension.
I don't think it would be anything more than what he's making now, and it wouldn't be more than.
I think too much.
I think 3 years would be the max. Dude, $5.3 million for an all-star caliber goalie. That's not too much. That is the starting rate for like a good start. The going rate for a good starting goalie these days now in the NHL is 7+.
But how? Yeah.
Yeah, you run the risk of him aging, but at the same time, you're probably getting him for $2 million under going rate. So that's the balance there, right?
It's not like I still, if it's me, I still wouldn't do it at the same price, but also it wouldn't be a hill to die on.
No.
Just like right now, I'm not like.
I wrote an article for the Wings Nation over the last week.
Go read it.
About I was just kind of doing a thought experiment on Ken Holland saying I want to compete for a playoff spot next year, so I kind of actually started breaking down, okay, what would he have to do and what would that roster have to look like to be able to pull that off. Without giving too much away, oh my God, he's got his work cut out for him and will have to pull off a minor miracle. Out of those 3 players that are trades, Nyquist was the only one I didn't have coming back, surprisingly. And the one thing that was a pleasant surprise is through just very basic maneuvering, Detroit has an unholy amount of cap space this summer. So if they want to slightly overpay Howard, fine. It doesn't affect anything. In my hypothetical, how to make Detroit good next year, they had enough cap space to sign 2 of the 3 most valuable free agents this summer. Which, again, for those who didn't read all the way through the article and roasted me for it, if you read right to the bottom, I said, yeah, this ain't happening. The odds of that happening are like slim to none. But that you want Detroit to make the playoffs this year, this is what you'd have to do, because these are their biggest weaknesses.
I always skip to the bottom of your what-if articles just to make sure you've kept your head.
Yeah.
You always do, unfortunately.
Yeah. Proofreading helps.
You didn't send it to me to proofread.
No, I sent it to Nick to proofread.
I'm hurt.
And also, I was very sick when it got posted. I was not. I did not care too much.
We're gonna post the link to that article in the description for this episode. So go give that a read. It will be timeless until something major happens.
Oh, and for those wondering, because I did forget to include it in the bottom of my article, in my hypothetical, what I would pay the free agents, it was 11 mil and 9.5 without giving the names away.
Interesting. That's a lot for Andre Sekera, but I don't even think he's a free agent. I just have to think of someone. No. Moving forward, with the Nyquist, I think we've kind of hashed out everything with Nyquist and Howard before. We'll dive deeper into that with the primer when we hear from Max. Going to the Grand Rapids Griffins. Actually, I want to talk about their jerseys later, but first, Filip Zadina is doing something special down there.
He's on a heater.
He is on. Oh God, the goal he set up where he
fell.
He fell and from his knees still finished off what was a magical play.
Yeah.
Was it Zadina Ferk Megan line?
Yeah. Zadina to Ferk to Megan.
Oh.
One of the arguments I was seeing about Zadina not performing well, and it was even one of the arguments I made myself while he was struggling earlier in the year, was the type of player Zadina is his game gets elevated exponentially the better players he plays with. So even though, because I kind of thought he's the type of player, even though the NHL is a harder league, he'd perform better in the NHL because he plays so well off better players. So putting him up against Shea Weber versus AHL defenseman, but giving him a Dylan Larkin instead of a Wade Megan would actually be a net gain for him. Martin Ferk goes down to Grand Rapids, and Zadina's put up, 4 or 5 points in the 2 games he's played with him, kind of justifying our theory a little bit there. Mm-hmm. He's now playing with actual NHL-level players and is killing it. Small sample size, I know. But overall, in his last 8 games, he's got 9, 10 points, something like that. He's got a goal in 4 straight games.
If you wanted credence to the theory that Zadina just wasn't one of those guys who's going to come to the NHL right away, but still was going to live up to his hype, or he hasn't lost anything off the top in terms of potential, this recent streak is one hell of a sample to look at and be optimistic about. He's really... and it's not just the shooting, but the shooting's been there. And it's not just the playmaking, but the playmaking's been there. It's his confidence. It's adjusting his game. It's just doing well with good players around him. He's
I've noticed more suit selfies in his Instagram stories.
He's very happy.
Seriously. The
You know what?
confidence is at an all-time high.
Speaking of looking good, the Grand Rapids Griffins had another special jersey this week. They constantly knock it out of the park with their special jerseys, like either 1 game or 2 game jerseys. It was a callback to the Miracle on Ice USA jerseys, all blue with the red GRG across the front. Oh my god! I wish they sold them. I get why they auctioned them, and I'm sad that I can't afford to buy them. But I would kill for Zadina.
Just get like Dylan McElrath. It probably won't be that much.
Oh, they love him down there. He just beats the hell out of people. His would probably auction. If Zadina's goes for 1,000, I think the McElrath would go for like 800.
Jesus.
Yeah, actually, we could probably look it up, but man, that sounds like work. Veleno and McIsaac, they're still doing well?
Yep, not going to dive into too much details, but Joe Veleno still maintains the highest points per game in the entire QMJHL, and Jared McIsaac holds the highest points per game amongst defensemen in the QMJHL. And keep in mind, there are players in the QMJHL a year and 2 years older than them. That's all. That's the entire point I'm making there.
We're very invested in the QMJHL, and I don't mind it.
Odds are, though, we're not picking a player from the QMJHL with our first pick this year, so...
So,
thanks, Philip Zadina. Thanks, Halifax. Really, when you think about that, the Halifax Mooseheads in one draft gave us Philip Zadina and Jared McIsaac.
did they actually?
Yeah. They were both Mooseheads last year.
Yeah, oh yeah, sorry. No, like, but are they the same? Huh. I never connect them because they separated, right?
Technically, Zadina's a year older because he was a late birthday.
Right, and that's what's confusing me.
But
both from Halifax.
They
We
both
talked
put on
about
Mooseheads
this before.
last
Why
year.
am I forgetting this?
I don't know.
I'm just zoning out. I'm thinking about the next topic, which is Don Cherry. Now, this show does have a connection to Coach's Corner in that we had Ron McLean on earlier, or just last year, well, in November, I think it was, which was, to date, the coolest thing that any of us have ever done. Ron's fantastic. We can't wait to have him on again. Don Cherry, the other half of Coach's Corner, has teed off on the Carolina Hurricanes
we all knew it was coming.
post-game celebrations,
The storm
surge. And there's one thing about old man yells at cloud, and then there's another thing about old man yells at clouds and kind of implies that clouds are behaving like what he imagines women behaving like, and sort of working in some like homophobic ideals and thoughts there. What do you call them, sissies? Or was that something stupid? He called it disrespectful to the game, and he was all upset because apparently Brendan Moore was supposed to be a straight shooter, and he doesn't understand why it's happening.
And I said, can you imagine Justin Williams being a part of this, even though it was Justin Williams' idea?
Yeah. So Don's not to be taken seriously for anything that matters in terms of fun in hockey.
He's entertainment value.
He's entertainment, and you know what? They know what they're doing by putting him up there. He's getting the attention. He stays relevant by doing these things. So it's not so much senile. It's not even. I don't buy the whole senile old man bit. He knows what he's doing by saying this crap, and he I'm sure he believes it, but he yells it like this intentionally. And the Carolina Hurricanes just owned it, and him.
It's nice because his point is it's disrespectful for the game, and can you imagine doing this? Well, if it's that disrespectful and every other team feels it's that disrespectful, don't you think they're going to walk into Carolina with just a little bit more motivation to win the game, to make sure Carolina doesn't do that after the game? So if it was really that big of a detriment to the Hurricanes, it's actually going to play against them. Even though Carolina's one of the hottest teams in the league right now and actually overtook Pittsburgh for a playoff spot at one point this weekend.
Yeah, if you don't want it to happen, don't lose.
Yeah, it's like when teams get upset over players' excessive celebration after a goal. The best way to stop him from doing that is to not let him score.
Yeah.
So the best way to stop the storm surge is don't let the Hurricanes win.
The fans love it, and this is a hockey market that has won a cup and still struggled to, keep an engaged fan base, to fill the stadium, to basically do everything that you would want a small hockey market to do to be able to thrive and succeed. The fans love this. They go nuts for it. Who are you to tell them no?
Yeah.
Why? Because they don't conform to your traditional ideals of what hockey should be? Who cares? Who cares? Who cares, man? That's not what it's about. They're having fun. The fans are having fun. The players are having fun. That's it. Everyone likes it. It's hysterical. It's a blast. What? Just because it looks different? What? Oh, he's mad because they're not going to the room and saying, the boys, we put out a good effort, we put out a full 60 minutes, and you always love Jonesy getting the puck deep, and we were able to grind out and win the battles, and coach must be happy. We worked on this a long time, and it's the 82 games, and we're just looking at the next one now. So yeah, that's better. Is that better? Every single game? Is that what you want to? Who cares? Let them have their fun.
I'm here for the chaos, and I cannot wait for the Hurricanes to do this in the playoffs.
Oh, he was mortified about the idea of the Hurricanes doing this playoffs. I can't wait.
I want to see the Hurricanes beat someone in Game 7 overtime, or Game 6, whatever game ends up being at home. I want them to recreate the Bautista bat flip like they did this past week, and I want them to throw that stick into the stratosphere.
Dude, I want them to win the Stanley Cup and start doing these celebrations with the Stanley Cup, just so we can see the simultaneous combustion of every single crazy old person who thinks that this is not okay. That would be funny.
My favorite thing that came from this is Patrick Burke, Brian Burke's son. Brian Burke, one of the other old men in hockey who is against fun in games, said that...
Which is crazy because he dresses up like Sonic the Hedgehog.
Yeah. So Patrick Burke, his son, is running the Boston Marathon or something similar. I missed the exact event. But said if he gets $1,000 raised to donate to this charity event that he's running, he will present his dad, Brian Burke, with one of the Hurricanes Bunch of Jerks t-shirts that they've been selling. Patrick Burke hit his goal of $1,000 in 8 minutes.
Yeah, someone just straight up donated $1,000, I believe.
Yep. Someone donated. There was a bunch of donations before that, so they technically were well over $1,000 in 8 minutes. But yep. I don't have any affiliation to the Hurricanes at all, and I want one of those Bunch of Jerks t-shirts.
Yeah, those Bunch of Jerks, and they had that created and in their team store like the next day.
It wasn't even 16 hours, I don't think.
That was fantastic. I actually kind of want to get one. If we were, we should pivot to being a Carolina Hurricanes podcast for a day just so we can give one of those away. Good on them for embracing it. Because it's easy to just fire back and say, hey, old man, we don't care what you think, but this is really just the bet. Just ride it. Ride the wave.
Didn't they even change their Twitter description to, those jerks with the celebrations?
Yeah, something like that. And the moment they go through a little bit of a slump, and everyone, or anyone who's on the wrong side of this argument is going to be oh, well, their heads weren't in the right place, they were distracted, maybe they should practice more instead of doing the storm surge, or get on the bike and forget it.
They were well out of the playoff spot 2 weeks ago, and now, as of this, recently as yesterday, we're in a playoff spot. So,
also, who's surprised? They hired, the guy who bought the team seems kind of eccentric, right?
Yeah.
He just kind of does wacky stuff. I'm sure he loves this.
Yeah.
Literally everyone loves to spit on Cherry.
And Brian Burke.
Yeah, but he doesn't. You can't give two. They just meld into one opinion. Really. What's the trail time between one of them saying something and the other one echoing it? Fair. Moving forward, the rest of the league has been kind of interesting. Edmonton continues to undo the moves of Peter Chiarelli.
And not even subtly, just literally sending Brendan Manning to the minors, basically stating that they gave away Drake Kajula for nothing. There's been rumors that Alex Petrovic is on the trade block, and now, out of nowhere, Jesse Puljujärvi's on the IR, which is weird, but
that one was actually confused by it. So my thing is, they fired Chiarelli, which was the right move. Far too late, but it was the right move.
You're still welcome for that, Edmonton.
Yeah. And so they're all undoing all the things that he's done. But they're all undoing all the things that he's done with Bob Nicholson and, what's the Gretzky? Mark Gretzky? Keith Gretzky doing it. These are two of the old boys. They are the old boys club. They are the some of the closest friends of the Cates family, the owners of the Oilers, and this is the same old boys club running this team. Apparently, Chiarelli has, in the latter months of his tenure as Oilers GM had to run stuff through them before it got approved, apparently. I don't know if I believe that, but let's just run with that for now. That means they would have had to have signed off on those deals. And now they're the ones undoing them? It smells fishy to me, you know?
I think something happened in Edmonton that I actually think happened in Detroit over the last few days. The fan base was so collectively united in the hatred of everything they did that the president and the ownership and whoever it is up top said, we have to directly undo what we did or indirectly undo what we did because the fan base is so angry. So they're trying to trade Petrovic. They traded Ryan Spooner and brought Sam Gagner back. They again sent Brandon Manning to the minors. Again, I circling back to Detroit, I think it's the whole reason Hronik's up right now, because I don't understand how Detroit on Thursday and Friday can be all about it's good for them to be down there and have the confidence up. It's good. They need their confidence up, and then recall Philip Hronik the next day. I think it was because the fan base was so collectively angry to the point where they healthy scratched Jonathan Ericsson, which we didn't even talk about, which was a monumental moment.
Oh yeah, we should double back to that.
We will. We'll get to that after the Oilers, but I think it was just one of those instances of I'm never a fan of pandering to your fan base because fans are stupid. Like us, we're stupid. Mm-hmm. Don't ever listen to us if you're running a hockey team. But at the same time, if 100% of your fan base is saying something stupid, okay, it's bad. You need to fix it. So I think they're just undoing everything they did, and they're going to hit a big old reset on this season. Truthfully, I think Detroit actually passed them in the standings, if I'm not mistaken. They're like 1-8-2 in their last 11.
Yeah, they dropped below. They still have games in hand, but they
ain't going to win them right now.
No, and so it's been a special time there. I still just can't believe that they've given away players. Remember looking back at Edmonton and thinking they have so much talent, just too much in one spot and not enough in others, but how are they going to turn that extra talent, real talent, into defense or goaltending? Well, they did it. They just kind of gave it away and more, and then they don't have much of either.
My favorite thing is there was a point where Jordan Eberle and Sam Gagner were both on the Edmonton Oilers at the same time, okay? And the Jordan Eberle trade tree has now resulted in it being Jordan Eberle straight up for Sam Gagner. That's impressive.
That is, oh boy.
By the way, Jordan Eberle, low-key free agent target for Detroit this summer, I think.
I wouldn't mind that. I like Jordan Eberle even if is he still having a down year? I actually haven't looked at his stats.
He's I think at 13-13 or something like that.
The guy's got a lot of talent.
Yeah. Depending on the contract. Give him $5 million, $6 million a year, sure, I'm on board.
I don't know if I give him that.
For a consistent 20-goal scorer, I give him that.
Yeah. Jonathan Ericsson. I read I was out with friends in Toronto, and so I didn't want to be on my phone all day. And so I read the tweet, and it was like, this is just too good to be true. So I just saw it, quickly fired something off, and just put it away. I was like, I can't believe this is happening. The team, the organization, in recalling Hronik, said, yeah, someone's going to have to sit. We recognize that Ericsson had a pretty bad game on Saturday. And so he was a healthy scratch on Sunday.
I dump on Jeff Blashill so much that when he does something positive, I have to compliment him. And I love the fact that he just came out and matter-of-factly stated, when asked, well, our group had a rough day yesterday, and out of the 6 of them, he was the worst. Just straight up.
That's the best.
Love it. I love the honesty there, Blash. I mean, you're about 3.5 years too late, but hey, about time you came around on this. I mean, now if you could scratch Daly and bring Cholowski back, that'd be super happy, but you know, baby steps.
Okay, realistically, this isn't something to be applauded for. It should happen often, and there's other players, in the forward group where it should happen with as well. But I'm not going to sit here and chide and criticize the guy for doing the right thing, even if it's just for the first time. This is a milestone. This is a absolute landmark moment for the Detroit Red Wings, where they healthy scratched a veteran player who was playing awful
in favor of a rookie.
And his name was Jonathan Ericsson. I was actually, I was aghast and I'm so happy they followed through with it. Good on them.
And Detroit went from they lost both games, but their performance as a team dramatically improved day to day there. And usually you don't play better in the second half of a back-to-back. Not that that is the direct reason, but, positive sign.
Positive sign. That it inspires confidence that it might happen with the applicator, because you know what? I think there's some credence to what you said with they called Veronic up because they realized that this wasn't making sense and people were starting to notice. And their leash in terms of what they can do, and people just say trust the process, has gotten shorter and shorter. And I think the Ericsson thing might have been tied to that. Who knows? That might leak into applicator one day.
Maybe. But me and you both know when Zadina gets called up, it's Rasmussen going to the press box.
100%. So I tweet, they were talking about if Rasmussen was to have a long run with the Grand Rapids Griffins to help him with the playoff run, he would have to have been sent down, not to Grand Rapids, but to the juniors, to Tri-City as of today. Hasn't happened, obviously.
Oh, yeah, I was wondering how the official worked on that.
I'm pretty sure that's the deadline. I'm almost positive it hasn't happened and won't happen now. He would have to go down to juniors first before being able to play with Grand Rapids later on. I'm not sure if their season would have to finish or what it is.
I always thought it was once Tri-City was done, he could go.
I think something like that. And that way he can have a long playoff run with Grand Rapids. That's all nice. More reps for a young player is fantastic. Rasmussen's been in NHL all year. In my mind, to take a guy who really, at worst, he just wasn't utilizing his abilities, to send him down to the minors would just kind of be a big knock to the confidence. And we've talked in the past about...
Didn't we just have this conversation about Demis Chalofsky last episode?
We've talked in the past about what Rasmussen needs and the kind of injuries he's had. And the kind of injuries he's had have been leaking into the time in the summer where he's supposed to be resting, recovering, building strength in pivotal, formative years coming into being a professional hockey player. Guys go through a lot of changes with their bodies around this age when they become NHLers. And
what conversation are we having?
Yeah, that one. They need to fill out their frames. They need to build the kind of muscle. They need to condition, get up to speed, because the NHL is a completely different game, and he hasn't really had the opportunity to do that for 2 summers now. He's had bad injuries related to his wrist and or something limiting him. Let him play the season with Detroit as an NHLer. Give him a full offseason to recover. Get him in the gym. Stuff him full of carbs and protein. Get him lifting weights. Get him working on his foot speed. Get him working on using his body to protect the puck. I think that's the kind of thing that Michael Rasmussen needs. And I'm happy to see that the organization is not interested in playing this game with him. I'm going to eat these words almost for sure. By sending him down and putting him in a Griffins jersey. Of course, we're all Griffins fans too. We would like to see them they're having a fantastic season.
They're first in their division.
I really think there's a time to recognize, and this isn't to imply that the Red Wings don't know. I'm positive that they know this too, and it's been evidenced by the fact that he's still in Detroit. But I'm really, really, really keen on him having a good, solid summer with the weights this year.
Yeah.
The rest of the league, Alexander Barkov scored probably the goal of the year.
The between the legs goal to me is nothing special anymore. It's happened so often, like 9-year-old kids can do it pretty effectively now. Mm-hmm. I, as a crappy beer leaguer, can do it pretty effectively. To do it at top speed with a defenseman draped all over you and the goalie you're scoring on is Carey Price is insane. That's absolutely meant to have the presence of mind to even try it. He's coming in with Victor Mete draped all over him, coming in on Carey Price, and he's like, you know what? I think I can pull this off. That's mental. That's like, as a guy who dekes on 98% of the breakaways I take, that for me is a shot the second I get to the hash marks 9 out of 10 times with the defenseman that all over me. That's just ridiculous coordination.
That was the best display of that goal I've ever seen, and I've seen American League shootout shot.
There was that one Israeli guy though, who flicked it in the air and then whacked, and he wins that.
Yeah, I remember that one. Yeah, you make a good point. All right, so we're actually probably going to dive into overtime a little bit earlier this week. Brad does have to run out the door, and we want to save some trade rumor talk for our primer episode that's happening Thursday night.
Our next 2 episodes are going to be biggins.
Hoffman apparently is a rumor, but we'll dive into that once we have some more substance to it, because that's pretty much all that has come about.
San Jose could use a guy like him.
Oh man. We're going to head into Patreon, where our patrons get their comments read out on air, guaranteed, as our way of saying thank you for supporting the show. They truly are the ones that allow us to do these kinds of things, do this show twice a week. More into that later. We have a ton. I'm glad we started overtime early. We have a ton of Patreon comments this week. We're going to start with Kalen Wood. He says, "Hey nerds, I got my new Little Tuesday Burt sweater a couple of days before his first game back, and I've tossed it on for the game since. Guess I have some good juju. Not for the team's performance, of course. There's not enough juju on the planet for that. But I guess just enough for a good toothless boy. Crazy what a difference he makes on the ice and what you miss when he's out of the lineup. Yeah, I agree. Tyler Bertuzzi makes a huge difference.
I didn't even realize he's scoring at nearly a 50-point pace this year. I mean, due to time missed, he won't hit it, but...
No, he's been kind of crazy effective.
It's surprising.
Anyways, I got a new gaming rig, 2080 Ti, i9, etc., and all I want to do is play Apex and Anthem. I have not touched... Well, I don't have Anthem, but I'm curious to know how it is. I think I have a problem. Have you guys ever had an unhealthy addiction to something other than hockey? Oh, man. My game that I played with my friends when we were in high school and had too much time was Black Ops. I loved the first Black Ops. Modern Warfare 2 first, but Black Ops really did it for me.
Jeez, that's not hockey related. I can't.
No. And then he says, "Cheers, BBs," and the hang loose signal with my tongue hanging out. Garrett TV says, "Hey guys, I had originally posted this on Valentine's Day episode, but somehow it didn't go through. Sorry about that. My post was originally asking, what's the best Valentine's Day gift you've ever received? Mine I got on Valentine's Day after we recorded. Mel got me a box full of an assortment of every kind of flaming hot Cheeto and or chip she could find." If that isn't true love, you don't know how happy this makes me, Brad. Don't give me that look. But since the time has passed, I'll just tell you mine, and you can feel free to chime in if you'd like. After a few months of dating, my girlfriend surprised me with a new, authentic Michigan Block M hockey jersey. I was blown away. We were broke college students at the time, but she apparently knew someone that knew someone and made it happen. She also knew I saved up some extra money from side jobs during school to afford hockey season tickets to Michigan every year, so it meant a lot. Almost 14 years later, and we're still together. And while we don't do Valentine's Day gifts anymore, I always joke that she was once an elite gift giver and retired in her prime. Go Blue and go Wings. That's an incredible gift.
That's funny.
Jethro E says, "Hey guys, I went to the tank battle against the Sens, and I have to say, while I was really hoping for us to gain in the tank, the Sens are more committed to their tank. It's ridiculous how committed to the tank they are. Granted, we just got outplayed, outshot, and out-hustled almost the entire game. But James Tiberius Howard single-handedly made sure the Ottawa tank won the battle. Still pissed off when we sent down Cholowski. This team is pure ass, and we decided to send down the kid playing like the veteran defenseman around him instead of sitting the vets. I hate this team's management so much of the time. Sending this kid down, especially on his freaking bobblehead night, was a symbolic slap in the face of Cholowski and us fans. And I hope Silver Spoon Chris gets rid of Kenny and Jeffy before they ruin Cholowski's relationship with the team any further in years ahead." Brad, did you write this comment? "I honestly hope we trade Howie and Goose. We don't deserve them right now, and frankly, they're hurting our tank efforts. To be as bad as Ottawa, we would have to be playing the Bernier-Satchery combo with first-line winger Justin Applicator, who nobody cheered for on Thursday, by the way, dragging down the team like the anchor he is. I was so shocked at how poor our team depth was when I saw Athanasiou playing with Franz and Vanek, I think. I was wondering why the hell we had Athanasiou playing on the fourth line.
They had him playing with Glendenning and Helm for 2 games.
Then I saw we had him on our second line. But at least we have some Michigan versus Michigan State in college shoddy hoops this weekend, so there is some good sports to watch if you're a fan of sports in the state of Michigan. Thank goodness for our college teams. This is a long rant at this point, so I apologize, but the winter has been long and cold, and frankly, the Wings just make things worse. On a happier note, you guys are literally the best thing about Red Wings hockey right now, aside from Dill Daddy, Athanasiou, and Manthuzzi. Keep it up, you glorious Canadian boys." Thank you for that, Jethro. That was beautiful.
Nice. Just because we haven't dumped an applicator this podcast, Prashanth posted a stat, goals above replacement, in which Justin Abdelkader ranked 367th of 377 qualified skaters. He was literally, so according to that stat, of every player who's played at least 300 minutes this year, he's the 10th worst player in the entire league. It's a random stat, and you can't look at it in a vacuum, but still, it was something.
Deep breaths. Evan Beckner says, "Hey guys, so I bought a house. Hey, congrats, man. That's huge. It's incredibly relieving and stressful at the same time. Now I have to buy a new car for my significantly longer commute. Ryan, you will be happy to know the Mazda 3 is on my short list of potential vehicles. Oh, if you want to know more, just send me a DM. I do like my car, but there's some things you should know, depending on what your needs are." Did you guys read the article on The Athletic about Jason McCrimmon running an inner-city hockey clinic for kids? Great article, but at the very least you need to scroll down and check the jerseys for the Motor City Hockey Club Straight Fire. Yeah, I did. That was an incredible story. I've read it twice, and I actually want to have that guy on the show.
I have not had a chance to read it yet.
I'll read it.
I think I saw it, like, in my feed, but...
It was, Max wrote it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was excellent. Marissa says, "What do you guys think of the talk about Cronwell playing next season instead of retiring?" It's scary. Yeah, but you know what? The only people who have been parroting it are, like, Mickey, and, like, we love Mick. Obviously, Mick is, like, a staple of Red Wings fandom, but I think he subscribes to an old school way of thinking about, managing hockey teams, and I'm not sure that this is coming from the actual organization, but we've been hurt before.
If it means that they'll move on from Daly and Eriksson in order to have Cronwell back, that's a trade-off I take, but I don't see that happening.
Yeah, Cronwell got burned on one of the Philadelphia goals on a play that was moving very slowly, and he couldn't keep up. And I just want to clip that so I can show everyone and say, I love Nicholas Cronwell. I really do, but he is not made for this league anymore.
No.
Mark Burnham says the NBC announcers were talking last night about Philly's GM considering not selling at the deadline. Well, that's great for the Wings. It seems ridiculous to me. There's still 6 points and 3 teams out of a playoff spot, even after the recent success. And even if they do manage to squeak in, they run straight into the Tampa Bay buzzsaw. Chuck Fletcher channeling the Holland just get in and anything can happen mentality that gave the Wings so much success in the 2010s. You've probably covered this already, but do you think Mantha should have been suspended? I only saw the replay, literally fell asleep after the second period of the game. Great Saturday afternoon nap. But it looked pretty suspendable to me. I figured at least a game or two, but maybe that's a bad take on my part. Seems like the kind of thing they'd want to punish and keep out of the game.
Game misconduct probably would have been the right call. So since it wasn't called, I could have seen a 1-game suspension, maybe a fine. I'm surprised he didn't get fined.
I'm really surprised it wasn't looked at.
Yeah.
I think that's the kind of thing that should be a 1-game suspension. And if you're not a fan of that, remember when Zetterberg got his head turnbuckled into the boards by Shea Weber? Find me a Red Wings fan who forgets that and forgives Shea Weber for that. Yeah, it's different. Yeah, there's some more malice in there. Still, it's the kind of thing you got to keep out of the game. I'm not happy that Mantha did it. It's all said and done now, but it could have gone a lot worse. Warmcore Music says, how fun is it to watch Bert and Larkin play together? Bert seems like he'd be such an effective playoff guy. He plays a style that really complements Larkin, as he has the skill to make and finish plays. Enough speed to keep up in the right amount of physicality without being a liability outside the Islanders game last year. Do you guys think he stays with Larkin in either Mantha or Zadina, eventually taking the other side? Who's the ideal guy to fit in that line after Nyquist is gone?